We are going to start with a brief tour of the Blender user interface. So right when you open up the program, this is what it looks like. This is not my first time opening the program on this computer. If you download it and open it for the first time, you will most likely get a menu of different options like left click, right click, space bar, what you want those things to be. You can just set your personal preferences, but this is what it looks like every time after that. So you can create new general file, 2D animation, sculpting, VFX, video editing, whatever those things are. We're just going to start with a regular general file, and this is what that looks like. So here in the center, we have a cute little cube that is just put there automatically at the origin. So if you are getting math class flashbacks, that's good. The origin, this is at 0, 0, 0. This little doohickey here on the side tells you X, Y, and Z axes. And if you tumble around, it will show you where you are positioned, which is super useful. So this part here in the center is our viewport. This is your workspace. This is the scene that you're setting up. This is where all of the polygons that you build will pop up. And just the automatic factory settings, have them pop up right here at the center in the origin. Blender is a really complicated program, but in a good way. There is so much you can do with it. It's extremely powerful. There's a lot of stuff that you can create, which obviously you saw from even just like the startup menu options. This is what we're working with to start. We want to do a tour so that we sort of know where these things are located and acquaint ourselves with where some of these functions are. Then we can start getting acquainted with how to use them. Over here on the left-hand side, we have some of our basic tools. Up here on the top, we have a lot of our menu options and tabs. I will explain. So if you click on the actual Blender icon, it just tells you splash screen, about, install, and then different system preferences. Don't worry about all that. This is your basic menu set here, and then you have different work tabs. So each of these different work tabs has different presets and different setups so that you can do each of these things that they're telling you: animation, rendering, compositing, geometry, nodes, all that good stuff. We will get further into that as we get further into that. For now, we're just in our basic layout. Also, as you work, if you decide there's other options that you need or other presets that you need, you can actually add your own tabs, which is pretty cool. Again, we'll get more into that later. In this basic setup one, we have our viewport, we have our toolbar on the side with our basic functions. We have our playback commands here at the bottom, including like play, fast forward, all this stuff, record for when you start animating, and then the frames actually here at the bottom. We have this set to start at frame 1 and end at frame 250. You can adjust that. You can tab into whatever frame you want. You can set whatever frame you want, and all of this is customizable. Over here on the right-hand side, we have a lot of information. So up here at the top, we have our scene collection, which is going to give you a list of everything that's included in your scene. So right off the bat, just automatically, you get a camera, this little cube that we talked about, and a light. This is the indication for the light here. Each of these you can double click into and rename, which is super helpful, particularly as your scenes get crowded. You may want to rename this cube couch or lamp or table, whatever it is you're turning it into, because if it just says cube, 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 that's really not going to help you very much. The camera is indicated by this. This is the way that it's looking at your scene. The arrow will show you which direction is up. You can reposition the camera, you can animate the camera, you can do all kinds of really fabulous things with it. This is just our automatic, the standard light that it gives you. There are other kinds of lights. You can go into the light, you can change the settings. There's all kinds of different stuff here. I have the light selected. So this little tab here, if you hover over it, it will tell you editor type. This is just the properties for whatever you have selected. So right now I have the light selected, which it's telling us, but it tells you its location in space. So this is where it is, X, Y, and Z, up off the grid. The rotation, the scale, you can change all of these things. You can change the mode for the ruler. And there's all kinds of transformations that we can do. But this is just properties and information for whatever you have selected. If I select that, we see it changes to the cube, which is at the origin. This is a great place to start, just sort of knowing where things are, what they do. You can customize pretty much everything about the way that Blender is set up and about what is being shown to you. If you want to, you can hover over things, increase or decrease the size of any of your windows that are open. You can close things out if you want to. If you decide that one of these workspaces doesn't work for you, you can rename it, you can get rid of it, you can customize this in whatever way is going to help your workflow. Sometimes that can be a little overwhelming, and sometimes you can do things by accident that you don't mean to. One thing that I've seen people do before, if you hover over the top right corner, you see how this turns into a little plus sign? If you drag into your scene from that plus sign, you create another view. So another window opens, we have another viewport here. This can be very helpful, and you can look at the same object from different sides. You can look at the same scene from different sides, from different perspectives, from different, like, what is the word? Different axes. But if you didn't mean to do this, that's not super helpful. So you can open as many of these as you want to. You can resize them, you can reposition yourself in here in whatever way you choose. You can also get rid of these. So if I go to the plus sign and drag this up, you see the arrow that pops up, you can minimize it again. If I go into the plus sign and drag it out, again, not out of the window, not into the window, you can get rid of that. So all of this is customizable, but just for starters, this is us acquainting ourselves with the primary scene, the way that it opens. The next step that you're going to want to do is to look into polygons. So we're going to look into polygons, we're going to look into creating different meshes and the parts of a polygon, how all of this works, what each of them is, and how we can turn something like a basic cube into something like a couch or a table or whatever else it may be. So, lesson 1, complete.